Have you ever heard someone talk about shifting left on quality? The term shift left has grown in popularity recently, and with it, a lot of different perspectives have surfaced. Shifting left on quality, in a nutshell, means bringing quality as early as possible in our software development cycle. In the following series, I will discuss with my friends Pia and Andy how far left we can shift quality and how it impacts the stages of our development process. So first things first, what do we do initially in our software development lifecycle? You guessed it, arrange requirements. How we can bring in quality this early? What if an edge case only emerges later in the cycle? Then what do we do? Let's see how we can hedge our bets in this regard. Hello, folks. It's great to have you here with me. So today, let's talk about arranging requirements. So this is as left as it goes in our software development cycle. At the moment, I am trying to bring my lead QA with me to the very beginning of it. But as it is expected with any change, it's bringing challenges and questions, of course, because it's not only up to us to think about what needs to change so that we have an effective integration of this QA professional this early in the process, but other people need to consider the QA participation. So I want to know from you guys, since you are the QAs, I'm just an apprentice QA. Uh, what is the biggest challenge when you first go into this early in stage, like dealing with product people, everyone arranging requirements? So what do you do as a QA when arranging requirements?
I think the first initial thought I had now when you asked that question is to be actually included in the process. So for me, it's really important to be as early in that process as possible to understand the impact and the risk a new feature requirement might bring with it, right? And also to understand the technical side, what they actually need to change in order to adjust my strategy, the approach it comes with it. Pia, do you have the same issues? Like, when do you actually get in contact? Are you getting in contact a lot in very early stages in the arrange requirements phase? So even before the requirement was presented to the team?
Unfortunately, I'm not involved as much as I would like to be. But however, I mean, I fully agree with you. I would really love to be there as early as possible, so I can bring in my skills, you know, that quality mindset already. When we talk about requirements on the very high level, so because I as a QA, I know the system, I know where there are, you know, pitfalls, where we have risky areas. So from my experience, it's best when I'm early involved. So I can bring that information in already and everybody knows about it.
Interesting that you both said something that sparks my curiosity, like knowing the system, right? So the way we are doing right now, where I work at, we have people from product, we have the architect, we have the QA, and I am there just to give my unsolicited opinions as well, because why not? The thing is knowing the system, knowing the structure of it. Generally, when we talk about that, I naturally think about the architect. So the architect knows the system in a high level concept, how it is structured. So how deep must the knowledge of the QA go in order to be able to contribute? But obviously, I'm assuming that the QA does not need to know in depth as the architect. but needs to know just enough so that the contribution to this early phase is meaningful. So what would you say is too much for a QA? And what would you say is just right level of knowledge?
That's a tricky question. And I have to say it depends. It depends on the concrete application or the project or the organization where you are in. But in general, if I have to make a general statement, I would say, yeah, it's just looking on the technical side. I'm definitely not as deep as an architect is, but I'm coming from another angle. Maybe that's more that.
So will the QA know, for example, of things like load balancers? There's a cache here, or this is beyond what the QA needs to know to think about the impacts on the system?
For me, it's more about, I mean, I know QAs who know about load balancing and that stuff. So they have like, I don't know, experience in that area, or they are interested more in that. So that's good. I mean, bring what you have and just share it with the team. So for my example, I'm very good in business processes or looking at the application from a user perspective. So this is where my strength is. So I have a deep understanding of, let's say mobile banking. I've been working in the banking finance industry for nearly a decade now. So I'm very strong with business knowledge in that area. So when and I know how to test that stuff. So it's not like that I'm like having the same knowledge as a BA or a PO would have.
I think I understand. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I think it's the mix of what the different people bring, from their area. So the architect is more from the technical side. I'm coming from the testing side, but with a strong business knowledge. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess the while the architect will give his or her contribution, more focused on the technical aspects of the system, the person from product knows the feature that they want to have, and they may describe an optimistic scenario, and then the QA is there actively thinking, okay, is this scenario complete? Are there holes in the scenario regarding the business logic? Would you say this is an accurate participation of the QA?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I really like your explanation.
Yeah, because then it gives a really big importance to the QA, which is kind of hard to grasp, right? Andy, did you have any experience giving contributions like that early in such early phase, or like identifying a hole in the business requirement? Like, hey, have you considered when the user does this, what happens with your model, or something like that?
Yeah, there my story is really opposite to what Pia brings to the table, right? Because I'm completely from the development point of view. So and that's actually, well, strength, but also kind of a weakness, that I'm very quickly into technical details and examples. But for the special occasion you brought up, right? I mean, they present to me in a last project a big feature change, right? And then they said, yeah, our business requirement is to optimize this part, and we want to solve it the way that we create a separate component and have a dedicated system to it. And then for me it was like, yeah, sure, but from technical speaking and dependencies, are you sure you want to go that route with those kind of other challenges you add or complexity you add to the challenge, right? To the system. And in terms of workflow, I also, there it's just like for me, I try to give the input as a user, right? I'm not that strong probably in terms of business know-how as Pia is. Sure, I try to go there and try to have that standpoint as well. But I think I can very good see myself as the user in the end system somewhere in the future when it's live and see, yeah, but that doesn't bring benefit to me, right? Which is a bit of a separate topic, but plays into our mission actually as an HR team, right? Deliver value for the customer at the end.
See, what about you, Pia? Have you had the opportunity to detect like a hole in like domain logic, proposed early like arrange requirements, and like, hey, have you considered this?
Yeah, but don't ask me for the concrete example because now it doesn't come to my mind. No, but actually in one of my former projects, I was pretty close to the PO, not really to the business. That would have been even better, but I was very, very good connected with the PO. So as soon as the PO got new requirements from business, he called like myself and also the architect to just quickly review and just think about, okay, does this make sense? Can we do that? How can we do that? So yeah, and that was really, really good. So as said before, so we had this early interaction of the different disciplines, and yeah, we found out holes, no matter if it was on the technical side, where we realized, okay, we in order to deliver this new feature, we would need to rebuild certain parts of the application, or we need to have, I don't know, new databases, all that stuff, and that takes time, and you need to think through it really really good. So that was one thing, and the other thing was also, as you said, so I came in with my business knowledge, and I just challenged what the perfect solution business thought they want to have. I challenged that a little bit. Yeah, so that was really fruitful. I enjoyed it.
It just came to my mind a real case example where the contribution of a QA during the arrange requirements phase, it was the following. We were developing, it's an HR solution, right? So it should handle like a work contracts and manage vacations. So those two things are being developed in parallel, right? We already have a system that makes a work contract, right? And then we started to work on the contract amendment part that will change the contract, as well as we started thinking about the vacation planning and management. And then the person from QA asked, hey, what happens if you have 25 vacation days, you schedule it ahead, and then you have a contract amendment saying you now work part-time. You no longer have those 25 days, right? So what do we do in this case? I think that is the biggest contribution I've saw from someone with a quality mindset disputing requirements and trying to refine it in something more robust, higher quality, right?
And I think that's a very important point, right? So sorry when I just jump in, but there, the actual benefit of shifting left and having all those different rules as early as possible in the life cycle means we can create together a product. And I always see myself as a QA in the role of questioning the not only requirements, but the intents, and in order to understand it, right? What is the goal and how we want to achieve it and what should it solve? And with those questions, it's a bit of a neutral position you have in order to mediate actually between architects and POs, so that there is actually the same understanding of what should be built in the future, right? And for me, that's a very important step. The first step is also always very important, because when there is like crap in, there is also crap out. Let's just tell it that way. And for me, it's just like a new feature comes, a PO, a BA breaks it down into perhaps smaller pieces or tries to understand it, what we actually need to do in the software. Afterwards, that's obviously sit together with QA and with an architect to have those different opinions, and then together create some sort of a solution draft, like a strategy, how we would like to achieve that. And just after those steps, we involve the full Agile team and get introduction to them as well, that we are on the same page. And there should be just 3 very important questions be answered from my point of view. And that's, what is the actual business requirement or the intent of the business, why we add that requirement? How will we fit the new requirements into the existing solution? Like technically speaking, do we need to have a new application, a new backend service? Do we need to connect differently? Do we need to scale up? Do we need to scale down? Stuff like that. And the last thing is, what is the difference from the as-is situation to the target picture we actually want to go to? What are the immediate steps? And there it's where the solution draft comes in, right? And at the end, create tickets in a Tres Amigos principle, like all those roles together, create individual tickets on how to approach that big epic when we talk about in Agile terms or in Scrum terms.